Hey guys, Carson McCusker signed with the Twins early this summer, and to this point, he has refused to stop hitting. So we've got him here to talk about it with us today. This is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, and you can find me on Twitter at Brandon_WARNE, though I don't think I would. But thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As a reminder, please feel free to be active in the comments. Sometimes we do, Carson, live shows, and so people will ask questions during the show. This is not the case here.
Okay.
I don't want to put you quite on the spot that much, but it's always fun to have questions come in from people before, during, whatever. So if you have those, you can leave them on YouTube. You can tweet them to me at Brandon_Warren at Locked On Twins, or just however you get them to me. We are more than happy to have that happen. Also, too, if you want to check out the Locked On Twins post-game minutes, we have a quick 1-minute hit telling you about everything you need to know about that night's game. Look for that under the shorts column on YouTube. Also, today's show brought to you by Sleeper. Swing for the fences, easy for me to say, on Sleeper picks, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. So run to the app and see if your state is one of them on Sleeper today. And Twins Guardians Tuesday at Target Field. It's going to be Gavin Williams, the rookie, against Pablo Lopez, the grizzled veteran. We'll see how that shakes out as the Guardians are playing a hopeless game of catch-up against your Twins. But you can catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Twins. So all that dizzying array of housekeeping out of the way, we've got Mr. Carson McCusker here. And man, delighted to have you. How have you been?
I've been great. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and you said you're back home, and in this case, back home right now means Cedar Rapids. Now, the path to Cedar Rapids has been quite a circuitous one, just based on my side of things. And I'll have a bunch of questions for you, but if you are able to make the big leagues, and make no mistake, we're pulling for you over here. I believe you'd be the second from your high school. Is that Mickey Janis was the first one? It says on Baseball Reference that he went to your high school. Yeah,
Mickey Janis. Honestly, I didn't even know that until probably about, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago when I started doing a little research in my high school as well, because like nobody really talked about him. But yeah, pretty crazy name coming from the high school.
Well, and knuckleballer, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not back.
Yeah.
Maybe not back in the day he wasn't, because a lot of guys don't start that way. Not everybody's R.A. Dickey or anything, but yeah, it's always fun to have those little quirks from different nooks and crannies of the country.
No doubt.
So how does a guy – so if people aren't familiar with you, you're, 7.5 feet tall almost. No, but I mean 6'8". How does baseball become your focus? Not to be stereotypical, not to try to take the layup or the high-hanging fruit, I guess, in this case. But how did you choose baseball, or how did baseball choose you?
I mean, just always had a love for it. My dad really big into baseball growing up, kind of showed me the love for the game. But I was a multi-sport athlete growing up as well, wrestled, played basketball, football, tennis, all that stuff. But baseball was the one thing that I just loved to do, took it more serious than all the other stuff. You're playing all those other sports in the off season. You're like, dang, I just want baseball season to come up, because I was just main focus.
So your heart wasn't in football, for instance, beyond high school or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, I just knew I wasn't going to take it to the collegiate level in any of those other sports, and didn't really want to.
So you grew up in Nevada, and so it's kind of hard to always know from our standpoint, like who did you root for as a kid? Because there's teams kind of in every direction from there.
Yeah. I was a Rangers fan growing up. I was born in Texas. I mean, I only lived there for a few years, but my parents took me to games when I was there, and then they're really good back in 2010, those years. So I mean, really easy to root for those guys. So I grew up a Rangers fan. Kind of stopped liking teams as I started getting more into baseball, but still kind of rooting for them.
Well, and the GM for the Twins right now, Thad Levine, he was pretty high up with those Rangers teams. So that was a Rangers team too that I think it was one Nelson Cruz misplay away from being a World Series champion.
Yeah.
So
also my favorite player growing up as well, Nelson Cruz. Hated to see
yeah.
that. Yeah, hated to see that.
Well, and we got a lot of appreciation for him as he became a Twin towards the end of his career. Just a good clubhouse guy. And that 2019 Twins team that he was on. I don't even know how to explain it. It was one of the most magical teams I've ever watched that didn't do anything in the postseason. Like, those magical seasons where you win the World Series and everybody talks about it. This team just hit a whole bunch of homers, and it was one of the most fun summers I've ever had of watching baseball in my life. And so Nelson Cruz was a big part of that. I thought you might have been like an Adrian Beltre fan, but that was a little bit later on, I suppose.
I mean, I'm pretty big fan of him as well, but Nelson Cruz is just my guy.
Who's going to argue with that? Now, so you get drafted in 2017 and don't sign. What was it? You were going to school thing? Was it or like you were going to Oklahoma State thing? What made it happen so you didn't sign?
I mean, really wanted to play Division I baseball. Stepped on campus at Oklahoma State for my visit and just knew it's what I wanted to do. But at the same time, deep down, just kind of didn't really feel like I was ready for professional baseball. I came out of high school, wasn't like a highly recruited guy at all. Like had an option to go to one or two junior colleges. Went there, wasn't really expecting anything, and my career just took off and kind of all just happened so fast. And I'm just sitting there like, do I want to kind of develop more before I go into professional baseball, or do I want to just jump right into it and decide I want to get my degree, finish school, get all that over with?
Well, I think we lose sight too of the fact that everybody physically matures at different times, and the game kind of demands that the first time you present yourself, you're that version. If you're a guy who gets a chance at 22 and you realize that you're not your fully matured baseball self at 26, 27, well, then your window's already shut. So I think it takes a special level of like self-awareness to know what you're capable of and what you're not. Because if, let's say you sign, you go pro, and at 20, you go to just hypothetically Fort Myers or, wherever Milwaukee's system is, and you struggle, you don't get to go back to college, and you might just be done with pro ball, and you're at an age where it's like, now what do I do? So I think
exactly.
As much as we look at things as a, get money while it's there, that sort of thing, that to me makes a lot more sense than signing just to get your foot in the door in pro ball, because you can be out even faster than you were in.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, the amount of injuries I've had over the past, 5 years or so from college, I mean, I could have been out of the game like that as well. It's just, they all just piled up. Never really played full seasons in college. So, I mean, looking back, I'm glad I kind of went the route that I did.
So what was your summer experience like in 2017 playing in Chico? Because, we see a lot of these collegiate summer leagues, and I'll ask you about Northwoods because that's closer to here. But I don't know as much about the ones that take place outside of the Midwest, other than, Cape Cod. A lot of people know about the Cape Cod League and that sort of thing. But what was that like? Because, it's rosters of lots of players. I'm sure guys are shuttling in and out. And at the same time, too, though, not much better than playing baseball for the summer.
Yeah. Honestly, that summer is kind of a blur. It's kind of a long time ago, but
true.
It was mostly like kind of junior college guys, smaller school guys, kind of just going in there, getting their summer reps in and stuff. But at the same time, good competition. It's not like you said, the Northwoods or Cape Cod, you got the best of the best going to those places. But it's a good place to get your reps in, get your at bats, and also Chico's a great town as well. So it was a fun summer.
So you have a nice first year at Oklahoma State though, and then you go to the Northwoods. Is that basically just like a stepping stone? Like, okay, this is the next part of what players at this level do to kind of continually show what they're capable of?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't get a whole lot of at bats my sophomore year, first year of college at Oklahoma State. So, and I think Northwoods, you're playing, I don't know how many games. You're getting 3 off days all summer. So,
that's like 60, I think. If you're all the way through a 50, something like that. I had a high school teammate who played for the, it was like the St. Cloud Rocks or something, I think, in that league. And it's it's just a nonstop go, go, go. And it's on the heels of you playing nonstop go, go, go. So it's just, it's incredible how much baseball you can play in such a small amount of time.
Yeah, it's definitely a grind. But like I said, if you getting your reps in, getting your at-bats in for the summer, it's a great place to go.
Now, the 26th round that you win in, actually, Josh Rojas went a few picks within you, I believe, actually after you, and he's in the big leagues right now with the Mariners. I always love seeing guys from those rounds not only make it, but get the chance to make it, because a lot of our organizations can treat them as afterthoughts. You know, this top prospect can't play the game by himself, so they get fill-ins and whatever, and I hate that players are viewed like that. But anytime those guys make it, to me, it's freaking awesome. So it was cool to me to see that there was some bold ink in the 26th round before you get there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that fires me up too. Like Mike Piazza's, Albert Pujols of the world. You know, those
right.
Those are the guys that kind of give you hope when you get drafted in those later rounds.
So you go to the summer league. The team you played on looks like they're pretty decent, but like no guys who've broken through to the big leagues, at least not yet. Granted, that can always happen. Was that a good measuring stick though? Of like, yes, I had a good year in the Big 12, but now I need to take another step forward. Because I mean, the numbers, it's 140 play appearances. It's not a ton. So it was a bit of a struggle, but is that a good measuring stick for you? Are you thinking, okay, well, my next step is this, and then from there?
Yeah. I mean, that summer was definitely a learning experience for sure. I mean, I struggled, didn't get as much playing time as I wanted, but I knew coming out of that summer, the adjustments that I needed to make going into the next college season, what I needed to work on. So I think it was a good learning experience for sure.
Yeah, no question about that. I do have to bring up one thing about Sleeper, our friends over at Sleeper. And if you're into making picks and want to win more money and have the chance to win more money with less picks, head to Sleeper. It's the #1 sports app where you can win up to 100 times your money in just 2 or more fantasy baseball picks. So if you think, let's just say Carson McCusker is going to hit a homer off Max Scherzer, you can actually put your money where your mouth is. So you just go on the app, you take all these stats, you say more or less or more or less. You know, it's actually not that difficult. If a guy like me can figure it out, I promise you guys, you can do that as well. There's dynamic payouts and multipliers and all kinds of fun stuff that make it possible for you to make more money with fewer picks and less money put in. Who doesn't want that? But use the promo code LOCKEDON. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. Again, see Sleeper's terms of use for details, because they are operational in over 30 states. So I can check Minnesota. You can check in Iowa. We can check wherever we are to see if this works. But check out Sleeper today. Download the app. Now, I wanted to get to Oklahoma State because your numbers there are solid, like very, very good. But a couple different things. Obviously, you didn't get drafted afterward, but the 2019 season, for instance, phenomenal numbers. Won the Oklahoma City Regional and then lost to Texas Tech in the Super Regional. That was a good Texas Tech team too. Josh Young, a couple other guys who've broken through, Caleb Killian, John McMillan. What's that experience like, that 2019 season? I mean, you take I'd say a pretty big step forward. It's like 100-point jump in OPS. You play 52 games, so you get about actually 80 more plate appearances. So that's a big deal. What are you feeling after that season and in that season? Because that's got to be a pretty exciting season to play through, knowing you've got a couple more years of eligibility. I mean, it's just that to me seems like a dream season for a guy in college. Yeah, I mean, it was probably the most fun season I've ever had playing baseball. Definitely heartbreaking at the end. We were, what was it, 3, 4, 5 outs away from going to the College World Series, but it was great. I came out of that season hurt though, had to take the summer off, so it was pretty frustrating. But I think my main focus after that season was just getting healthy and kind of just building off that last season, and hopefully win another championship the next year. But unfortunately, had COVID shutting it all down. So it was tough. But that was probably the most fun I've ever had playing baseball. I want to rewind back to Kenosha for just a second. Who are some of the players that you recall playing against? It can be pitchers, hitters, whatever, where, they became a big deal since then. Or you remember thinking that guy is going to be special and it ended up being accurate. Can you think of anybody?
Oh, man.
I'm not gonna rake you over the coals, so I can't have you just looking without anything like that. But so you guys were in the South Division. You had Madison, you had Kalamazoo, a couple of 40-win teams ahead of you guys, and not that many guys necessarily make the big leagues. A lot of guys who make the high minors. So again, Matt Mervis, though, I did see, and a few other names, maybe not super recognizable, but Mervis, I mean, Cubs fans that I talk to are pretty enthused about his future at first base and all that. So what I like to see too, though, is the fact that guys come here, Minnesota, they get to experience this Midwestern. Louis Varland too is another one. So hopefully someday you guys can reminisce over that in the big league clubhouse. That'd be kind of sweet.
No, yeah, that'd be great. Like I said, I remember there being good players, just can't put names.
Well, let's be fair. This is 5 years ago, and you were, you were trying to show out. You didn't really have time to really watch the other guys either. But Oklahoma State. So you played with Peyton Battenfield, who Twins fans have gotten to know a little bit this year as he's debuted. John Heasley. There were a few other guys. And I'll get to this guy in a second. But you played with Christian Encarnacion-Strand in his first year, which I believe was also your last year.
Yeah.
How this isn't a show about him, but how good was he that first year? Because you look at the numbers and they just jump off the screen.
I mean, there's a reason why the guy's in the big leagues right now. You saw the numbers he put up in the minor leagues and did the same thing in college. But honestly, in the fall, he struggled a little bit. So you're kind of wondering, like, is this guy for real? Like, what's going on here? And then spring came around, just took off, you can tell. I mean, this BP is unbelievable. Guys hitting balls way out of the yard to all fields, played great defense in college as well. But, I mean, super special player.
Is his story a lot different than yours as far as starting at another school and moving over?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the story is with that, but I know
I know he started somewhere else.
I think it was Oregon State, right?
I think it was actually a smaller school. I want to say it was like Navajo or like Yavapai. Sorry, Yavapai College in Arizona. He was out in Arizona though, and spent just a little bit of time there. But just not uncommon for guys to make that leap, and it's incredible to see how talented. I think we lose sight of the fact that those big name Division I programs aren't the only place that have high end baseball talent. And I mean, you coming from Folsom and then him coming from Arizona. I mean, it goes to show sometimes those guys, and maybe that is needing a little extra time before you're ready to handle that full D1 workload.
Yeah. I mean, like you were saying earlier, guys need time to kind of develop and reach their baseball maturity. And at the same time, you got other factors like maybe grades or like injuries, something like that we're forcing these smaller schools at first. But I mean, there's talent all over the place,
So to what extent did like the weirdness of 2020 really, mess with your future? Because again, you only played, what was like 14 games that year? Yeah, 14 for you. Not enough time to really get going or anything like that. Do you think that mattered that much, or was it more just it was a lost season for everyone and you just got to kind of chalk it up to that?
I mean, a little bit of both. I kind of started off that season struggling a little bit, was starting to hit my stride, and then as soon as COVID hit, it was season over. So it was kind of tough. You wanted to get those games in, especially with the guys we had on that team, because I thought we had a pretty good team. But and then at the same time after that, like, you have nowhere where you can do any baseball stuff as well. So you can't really develop. So, I mean, it was definitely very strange. And we were opening up a new new stadium that season. Probably, I think it was 2 weeks after COVID hit was when it was supposed to open up. So we were all super bummed because it was a really nice place.
Well, so if I'm doing the math correctly, would 2020 have been your final year of eligibility if not for exemptions?
Yeah, it would have been my last year there.
So you'd have been a senior sign either way if you were drafted that year or the next?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense because I was like 305, 374, 520 slash, and you go undrafted, I suspect. And again, I'm not trying to be critical or anything, but I suppose at your age, teams will rather just wait it out and sign you as a free agent.
Yeah.
You know, is that kind of the vibe? Because the numbers were great. I mean, good power, you know, just kind of everything you'd want from a power hitting outfielder. Just teams are really biased towards guys who need more time to bloom.
No doubt. I mean, and I know I'm not, because it was what, a 5-round draft that year.
Yeah, and then 21
was
was the shorter draft, but just not all the way short. It was 20
was 5-round draft. I got an opportunity to sign a free agent deal. Didn't want to do it because you had no idea what was going on with baseball, and
it kind of point.
It kind of seemed like because minor leagues didn't play a season that year, so I'm like, you know, I don't know what's going to go on. I know the college season is most likely going to be happening, especially in the fall, be able to get at bats then. So went back, had the new stadium that we were playing in the next year, wanted to do that. And then 21 came around, got injured. I think it was like maybe late January, had to miss the first 3 months of the season. And after that, I'm like, there's no shot I'm getting signed now. I'm 23 years old. I haven't played a full season in college yet. Like, it's definitely not going to happen. Still was kind of hoping for it, you know, but just wasn't very optimistic about it.
So you signed with Tri-City. How would you compare the Frontier League to what you had played? Like, let's just say Oklahoma State. Like, what was the comparative level there?
I mean, a lot of similarities and some differences. I mean, there's honestly a lot of good talent around those leagues, and there's also, you know, you'll get your occasional like lefty submariner knuckleball guy, and you're like, dude, what's going on here? But I mean, there's
running to Mickey Janis down there.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, because I played with, I don't know, 4 or 5 ex-big leaguers.
Yeah, I thought Aaron Alter was one of them.
Yeah, he was there.
Raymond Goodwin, and you played for Pete Incaviglia. That to me was pretty cool.
Yeah, Oklahoma State legend. It was awesome.
Right, I mean, fish in a barrel right there. And I mean, didn't he hit like just 1 billion home runs in college too? So I mean, what better
homers?
Yeah, what better role model for you than Pete Incaviglia?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, learned a lot from that guy, and he's also probably the most players manager you could have going through baseball. So it was a great experience.
So 2021, you play a year in the Frontier League, 31 games. What's your vision after that? Because you just finished your age 23 season, you mashed, and yet you go back to the Frontier League the next year. Are you waiting that off season for calls? Or are you just like, I'm just going to keep doing my thing, keep doing my thing? What's your mindset between 21 and 22? Because, you know, at that point, we kind of realize things are starting to get a little more normal. Baseball's at least getting back to normal and that sort of thing. What's your mindset in that offseason?
I mean, a little disappointment. I thought I did pretty well. I was kind of waiting for some calls, but at the same time, you know, it's totally out of control because it's honestly very difficult as a hitter, especially to get out of those leagues. Like, you have to put up stupid numbers, but
which is what you were doing this year, I might add.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that, but you were putting up stupid numbers. That's a very good way to put it.
But yeah, I mean, just sitting around waiting, I'm like, dang. So I did well, didn't get signed. Like, I'm going to try to totally revamp my swing and try to get it to like where I want it to be at. So kind of try to do that in the off season. And then went into the next season with those swing changes and just did horrible the first half. Like, and I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to make an adjustment again and just stick with that. And it worked well the second half of the year. So
you just went back to doing you, and it was what worked. My question there is, after 22, now you're 2 years into the Frontier League. And I mean, I'm semi-familiar with the Frontier in that I've just kind of poked around, and, you know, it's not a lot of guys who were former big leaguers, and it's not a lot of guys who are, you know, super close to the big leagues.
Yeah.
Going back for a third year, was there any thought in your mind of like, this could be it? This could be, I maybe don't even want to go back. Was there anything in your brain of like, all right, we're going to do this again, but the future is coming up fast? I'm kind of curious where you were at there.
This was going back into this year or last
this year? Yeah.
This year, okay.
So last year, you know, 2 years in the Frontier League, I imagine, you know, you're probably sick of Troy, New York. You're looking for something different. But again, pro ball is pro ball. It beats what a lot of people do.
No doubt.
Was there any trepidation going into this year, 2023, a third season with Tri-City? Because a lot of guys don't like to be in the same place for 3 years in minor league ball.
I mean, for sure. I was in the offseason, I was actually just questioning if I even wanted to still play baseball. You know, I'm
sure
going to be 25 years old, still playing any ball. It's like not looking good to get where I want to be at. So I was kind of, I don't know, just sitting there thinking about it. And I was like, you know what, one more year, screw it. Like I can get a job the next year. And if I don't get signed this year, then I'm done playing baseball. So yeah, I kind of just went into the season with honestly nothing to lose, like just playing to play and have fun, you know?
So you put up what I would call stupid numbers. Your first 2 years with Tri-City in a little over 100 games, you hit 19 homers. This year alone in 37 games, you hit 17. 433 average, 480 on base, a 1,300 OPS. So when I was doing my prep, I was just like, you got to ask him, how do you take such a leap forward? Like what made – again, 822 OPS and 22. That's not bad. That's a very, very good. When you look at that slash line, that's good. This, though, is like Barry Bonds in his prime. What changed for you?
It was honestly just the midseason adjustment I made in 22. I started doing like a little bit of a leg kick because my timing and rhythm was all just messed up. Started doing that. I think first day I did it, I hit a homer. I'm like, all right,
boom.
This is it. I'm doing this. So finished the year with that in 22, finished well, carried that in the off season, started kind of just working on that and just was able to get everything kind of just dialed in and carried on into this year.
So how does a signing like this come along? Because, you know, you mentioned this year you have nothing left to lose, but in some corner of your brain, I'm sure you're more not expecting a call than you're expecting a call, right? I mean, that's fair? So you obviously aren't expecting maybe necessarily to have an offer come through here, and it does. How surprising is it? And just like, how did that come together?
Very surprising. I was saying, like we had some scouts coming to our games and they would talk to a couple of our pitchers, never really had any conversations with them. And I think this was probably in like early June or so. And then late June comes around, June 30th or so, just get a call out of the blue from the independent Twins scout, Billy Milos, and he said, hey, like we just signed you. And I was like, are you serious? Like I honestly couldn't believe it just because it just came out of nowhere, out of left field. And but I kind of just all fell into place after that.
I kind of feel like the "Are you serious?" is a reflex, but then like that would be a really weirdly specific rib. You know what I mean? Like let's pick the guy who's busted his butt for years and just pretend he's going to the big leagues. Like you reflexively are like, really? But what an exciting thing. So I'm sure if somebody would have told you a couple months before, you would have been like, no chance, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. Like I said, just going into the year, kind of just playing to have fun, not really expecting to get signed. Going to go look for a job after the year to kind of just start my life, you know, but things totally changed.
You just got a few more questions. Are you doing okay on time?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. How would you compare minor league ball, affiliated ball to the Frontier League? I mean, and again, we have the St. Paul Saints here, which are now the AAA affiliate for the Twins. They weren't before. It was Indy ball.
Okay.
It was not I always thought like what league was it? It was the American Association.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's maybe like one leap above the Frontier League, if I'm not mistaken. Mostly because there's more former, easy for me to say, big leaguers in it. But I mean, not to make the comparison for any reason other than how much different is the day-to-day life for a player in each of those levels?
I'd say like similarities and differences at the same time. You know, I'll be explaining it to some guys who have been around the minor leagues for a while, and they pretty much say, yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it was like pre-COVID, like pre all these kind of rule changes and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously the talent level here is better than it is in the Frontier League. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just baseball, you know. I mean, I think there are a lot of guys in those leagues who kind of deserve a shot. I mean, had some stuff kind of go their way, like injuries, stuff like that, or maybe some other stuff. But
the minor leagues compress too. I mean, that hurts a lot of people too.
Exactly. So I mean, that just brings more talent into those leagues. But I don't know. I mean, similarities and differences, I would say.
And I don't think too necessarily it's more difficult or easier. It's just if you're in the Frontier League facing guys who are, let's just say guys who are 27 and have been there before, as far as even just AAA, those guys are going to pitch you differently than that, maybe that 22-year-old kid that's a 4-year Division I guy and is trying to show he's got velo rather than really knowing how to,
for sure,
set you up. So I could see that being a difference rather, not harder or easier, just different.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like maturity wise and just baseball experience, there's a lot of that in those leagues.
Yep.
Maybe not like the talent in minor league baseball is here, where in Frontier League it's here, but maturity is kind of flip-flopped, know?
Those both matter. I mean, in baseball, probably more than anywhere else. You've been in a lot of, well, I guess not a lot, but plenty of cities here in the Midwest now that were probably nothing like where you grew up or where you've played before. What's it like being away from home playing ball?
I mean, I've been doing it for so long now that I just kind of gotten used to it. I honestly like it a lot,
But you like the Midwest? Like that's cool with you?
Yeah. I mean, when I was I kind of consider Oklahoma Midwest-ish. I'm not a little more far south,
fair.
But people here are awesome, super nice. Weather is great, 75 pretty much every day. But
right for now,
definitely, for now, and definitely a lot better than Florida.
Yeah,
for sure, weather-wise.
That's true. Just a couple quick ones here. We'll get you out of here. What's it like for playing for Brian Dinkelman? We called him Dinkelmania up here. He got a quick run with the Twins back when I first started covering the team. I want to say it was 2011, and they had so many injuries. So they basically had like the entire AAA team on the roster because back then roster expansion was still up to your 40-man roster. So you could just load that clubhouse with guys, and it's Brian Dinkelman and Joe Benson and Steve Holm and all these guys. But he seems like a good baseball guy to play for.
Yeah. Great baseball mind, players manager for sure. I mean, just awesome guy to play for.
How did you not end up at first base? That's another one I got to ask because again, I'm looking back, like where did he play? Where did he play? Left field, right field, left field, right field. Like I'm not seeing first base anywhere. And I'm thinking, man, that to me, obviously it probably bodes well for your athleticism, but I still feel like somebody would have tried you at first base by now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, never even really heard anything about like, hey, we want to stick you over here until maybe last year in Indy ball. But
yeah,
I don't know. Was never great at fielding ground balls and kind of just like running around the outfield.
No, I agree with that. Last thing I got for you, and I hope one of my things is to make sure that I ask questions that you haven't been asked before, at least a couple. I try to keep it fresh. Maybe good, maybe not. What's the best reaction you've ever gotten from a pitcher when you've stepped into the batter's box at 6'8"? Because even me, I'm a pretty normal height guy, on the bigger side, of course, if people are watching the video, they can see that. But I had one kid, I was playing in a small town near mine, and he just kind of gulped. And the catcher said, just throw it. And then I hit a triple. And that's like the only good thing I ever did on a baseball field. And people who know me thinking about me running out a triple are probably laughing pretty hard. But what was the best reaction you got?
I think I remember a time back in junior college when I was swinging it pretty well.
You look like Adam Dunn coming up there or something.
Yeah. I remember. I don't remember what I don't remember what the pitcher was doing, but I remember the coach yelling at the dugout from the pitcher. He's like, "He's a junior college player. He's not in the big leagues. Just pitch to him." Just like one of those.
Oh man, I'm sure you could probably tell JUCO stories and minor stories for days, but I don't want to keep you. I want to thank you so much, Carson, for taking the time. And if people want to follow you on Twitter, because they definitely should, it's on the screen here, Carson_McCusker, or just Google it. My Twitter search function is broken, so I have to Google everyone I look up, which is completely bonkers. But hey, thanks for hanging out, Carson. Best of luck the rest of the year, and hopefully, hopefully Wichita, St. Paul, and all that's in your very near future. We're pulling for you here at Locked On Twins.
No doubt, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And so, thanks for hanging out with us. That said, it's a wrap. For this edition of Locked On Twins. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you follow Locked On Twins at Locked On Min for our network and at Brandon_Warren. Subscribe, like, give us a 5-star review, a thumbs up, a subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you are listening and or watching. And this has been Warren signing off, saying thank you so much. And don't forget to check back for coverage of the Guardians series starting tomorrow.